Stop making excuses. Every time you blame circumstances or wait for the right moment, you hand your power to someone else. The truth is simple: no one can hold you back, betray you, or stop you if you master Machiavelli's power strategies. In this video, I reveal 8 dark principles from The Prince that show you how to seize power, survive betrayal, and command respect in a world where weakness is exposed and punished. These aren't lessons in kindness, they are weapons of strategy, influence, and control for those who refuse to be victims. Let's begin.
Power begins with perception. Before you act, before you speak, before you even take your first step toward influence, the world has already begun to form an opinion of you. That opinion, fragile, incomplete, and often wrong, is the first battlefield. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The strongest strategy is not always direct confrontation, but the careful construction of an image that hides more than it reveals. The mask is not a simple disguise, it is a living shield. It allows you to navigate a world where open intentions invite attack. To wear the mask is to understand that silence can roar louder than 1,000 declarations. Every word you choose to speak, every gesture you allow to escape, either builds your legend or weakens your position. The mask protects you from careless honesty. It gives you the power to decide what others see, and more importantly, what they can never touch. Consider how predators operate in the wild. The most dangerous do not broadcast their presence. They wait, they watch, and they blend into the environment until the moment of strike. In the game of power, the same principle applies. By hiding your true motives, you deny rivals the opportunity to counter your moves. By keeping your thoughts private, you force others to reveal themselves first. Your silence becomes their trap. Machiavelli warned that rulers who speak too freely invite manipulation. Promises create obligations, and obligations create weakness. When you commit openly, you give enemies a map of your intentions. The art of the mask teaches restraint. Speak only when your words cannot be used against you. Let rumors work in your favor. Let mystery sharpen your authority. People fear what they cannot fully know, and fear, unlike love, commands respect that endures. But the mask is more than mere concealment. It is also transformation. Power demands adaptability. The face you present to allies may differ from the one you show to competitors. To some, you are approachable and understanding. To others, unshakable and severe. Each role is deliberate. Each expression is calculated. Behind the mask, you remain untouchable, able to shift identities as the situation demands without ever exposing the vulnerable core beneath. Wearing the mask requires discipline. It is tempting to overshare, to seek validation, to explain yourself when misunderstood. Resist. Every unnecessary explanation chips away at the barrier that protects your ambitions. Train yourself to endure the discomfort of being underestimated or misread. Let others project their fantasies onto you. Their assumptions become their weaknesses. When they finally confront the truth, it will be on your terms, not theirs. The art of the mask is not cowardice, it is strategy. To reveal everything is to give away the very leverage that separates leaders from followers. Your silence, your selective honesty, your carefully curated persona. These are not acts of deception for their own sake. They are tools of survival in a world where openness is exploited and vulnerability is punished. Master the mask, and you master the first principle of power, control of perception. As you practice this art, remember that the mask is most effective when it appears natural. Overacting invites suspicion. Subtlety disarms. A quiet confidence, a slight smile, a patient pause. These gestures suggest depth without revealing its measure. The goal is not to become a hollow actor, but to become an architect of impressions. Build a presence that draws curiosity, that invites respect, that keeps adversaries guessing while you quietly position yourself for victory. This is the essence of Machiavelli's first lesson. Power is not seized by those who shout the loudest. It is secured by those who understand that mystery is a weapon, and silence, when wielded with intention, is louder than any declaration. The mask you wear is not a prison. It is freedom. Freedom to act without warning, to strike without being seen, and to rise beyond the reach of those who would pull you down.
Love is fragile. Fear endures. This is one of Machiavelli's most controversial but enduring insights, and it remains as relevant today as it was during the turbulent politics of Renaissance Italy. To rule with fear does not mean to be cruel for cruelty's sake. It means understanding the psychology of power and the volatile nature of human loyalty. Love, no matter how passionately declared, is a fleeting emotion. Fear is a calculated response. Love binds people to you only as long as you satisfy their desires. Fear binds them because they know the cost of betrayal. People are inconsistent. Their affections change with their moods, their circumstances, their self-interest. They will praise you when it benefits them, abandon you when it does not, and betray you if it serves their ambitions. Love makes you dependent on their goodwill, a commodity that evaporates at the first sign of danger or inconvenience. Fear, however, creates a structure. It imposes a boundary they hesitate to cross. When people fear disappointing or opposing you, they behave predictably. They respect the limits you set. In the game of power, predictability is priceless. Ruling with fear is not about violence. It is about control of perception. Fear arises not from random brutality, but from the certainty of consequence. When your rivals and subordinates believe that betrayal or disrespect will bring inevitable retaliation, they govern themselves. You do not need to constantly enforce your authority, because the fear of what you might do becomes enough. This is why Machiavelli counseled leaders to be feared more than loved. Love invites negotiation. Fear shuts the door. Consider the dynamics of any hierarchy, a company, a political movement, a social circle. The leaders who rely on affection often spend their energy maintaining relationships, soothing egos, and appeasing grievances. Their power depends on constant reassurance. The leaders who command fear, by contrast, spend their energy setting standards and executing plans. Their authority is not a favor to be earned. It is a fact to be respected. People may smile in their presence or curse them in private, but they rarely risk open defiance. Fear, when properly cultivated, does not require shouting or threats. It lives in subtle gestures, a pause before you answer, an unshakable calm in the face of provocation, a reputation for decisive action. It is the quiet knowledge that you will not hesitate to protect your position. Fear is built through consistency. If you draw a line, enforce it every time. If you promise consequences, deliver them without delay. Each fulfilled warning reinforces the belief that testing you carries a cost. Some will argue that fear breeds resentment, and resentment breeds rebellion. Machiavelli acknowledged this risk, which is why he advised rulers to avoid unnecessary cruelty. Fear must never slide into hatred. Hatred is personal. Fear is strategic. People may dislike you, but as long as they do not despise you, their resentment remains contained. To maintain this balance, punish only when it serves a purpose. Let your actions appear justified, even when they are ruthless. When people perceive your decisions as fair or at least inevitable, they accept them as part of the natural order. The art of ruling with fear requires emotional discipline. You must be willing to act decisively when tested, but you must also avoid the trap of impulsive rage. Anger is a weakness that reveals itself in uncontrolled outbursts. True fear comes from a leader who remains cold, deliberate, and inscrutable. When others cannot predict your exact response, but know that it will be firm and calculated, they police themselves. Your power lies in the tension between what is known and what is possible. In personal relationships, the principle is the same, though more subtle. Whether in business, politics, or private life, those who command respect understand that overfamiliarity invites exploitation. Be warm when you choose, but never completely approachable. Maintain a slight distance that reminds others there is a line they cannot cross. Do not confuse this with cruelty. It is a boundary that protects your independence. People will admire your strength even if they cannot name the reason for their caution. History is filled with examples of leaders who chose love over fear and paid the price. Kings who trusted the affection of their nobles were overthrown. CEOs who sought to be liked by their employees were undermined by those same employees when difficult decisions arose. Relationships built solely on affection crumble under pressure. Those who endure are those who anchor their authority in respect, and respect, when tested, depends more on fear than love. To rule with fear is not to abandon humanity, it is to accept reality. Human beings are self-interested. They follow strength and hesitate before certainty. When they know that betrayal carries a consequence, they think twice before acting against you. When they know that weakness invites chaos, they look to you for stability. Your power grows not because you demand affection, but because you create an environment where defiance feels dangerous and compliance feels safe. Mastering this principle requires courage. You must be willing to endure criticism from those who call you cold or ruthless. You must resist the temptation to soften your stance for temporary approval. Approval fades. Power endures. Remember Machiavelli's counsel. It is far safer to be feared than loved when you cannot be both. Love may win you praise, but fear wins you survival. And in the end, survival is the foundation of every lasting triumph. The lesson is not about becoming a tyrant. It is about choosing a form of respect that cannot be bought with charm or kindness. Fear is not the enemy of justice. It is the guardian of order. When you rule with fear, carefully, deliberately, and without unnecessary cruelty, you free yourself from the fragile chains of affection and place your fate in the only secure foundation, the unshakable recognition that defiance carries a price. Those who wish to rise must accept this paradox. To be loved is comfortable. To be feared is powerful. Comfort is fleeting. Power endures.
Power is not a straight road. It is a battlefield littered with shifting alliances, hidden agendas, and sudden reversals. To play this game is to accept a hard truth. Betrayal is not an exception. It is an inevitability. Machiavelli understood that in politics, business, and personal ambition, loyalty is rarely permanent. People follow strength, convenience, and self-interest. Today's ally can become tomorrow's rival the moment the balance of advantage shifts. To survive, you must treat betrayal not as a shocking event, but as an expected move in the strategy of power. The first step is mental preparation. Most people cling to the illusion that trust, once earned, guarantees security. They build alliances on affection or shared victories and believe those bonds will hold through adversity. But history and experience teach otherwise.
Circumstances change, opportunities arise, and even the most loyal friend can be tempted by a better offer. When betrayal comes, and it will, the unprepared suffer twice, once from the loss itself and again from the pain of surprise. The wise expect betrayal as they expect the changing seasons. They are never caught unready. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must rely not on the loyalty of others, but on his own ability to adapt. Your survival depends not on promises, but on preparation. This does not mean living in constant paranoia. It means building structures of power that do not collapse when a single person turns against you. Diversify your alliances. Hold leverage over those whose support you need. Create overlapping networks so that no single betrayal can topple your position. Like a fortress with many walls, your defenses must remain strong even when one gate falls. Understanding betrayal also means understanding motivation. People rarely betray out of pure malice. They betray because they see a path to greater gain, or because they fear the consequences of staying loyal. Greed, fear, ambition. These are the forces that turn friends into traitors. Study them carefully. Pay attention to shifts in behavior, a sudden eagerness to know your plans, an unexplained withdrawal from shared projects, a subtle change in tone. These signals are not always proof of treachery, but they are warnings that the balance of interest may be shifting. The art of power is not to eliminate betrayal, that is impossible, but to manage it. Sometimes you can prevent a betrayal by giving people a stake in your success that outweighs the temptations of treachery. Offer rewards that bind their future to yours. Other times, you must let betrayal unfold because it exposes the traitor and strengthens your position. A premature confrontation may only drive disloyalty underground. Patience allows the betrayer to reveal themselves fully, giving you the evidence and timing to act decisively. When betrayal is confirmed, act without hesitation. Delay invites further erosion of your authority. Machiavelli counseled swift, calculated retribution, not reckless vengeance. Your response must be firm enough to discourage imitators, but measured enough to avoid unnecessary enemies. Publicly, maintain an appearance of control. Privately, remove the threat. Whether through dismissal, isolation, or a quiet but unmistakable punishment, make it clear that betrayal carries a cost that no gain can outweigh. But betrayal is not only a danger, it can also be a weapon. By planting misinformation, by allowing false opportunities to tempt rivals, you can provoke betrayals that reveal hidden enemies. A traitor who believes they are acting in secret can be guided like a pawn, exposing networks and ambitions you might otherwise never discover. In the game of power, betrayal is not merely endured, it is sometimes engineered. To navigate this landscape, you must cultivate emotional resilience. Betrayal is painful precisely because it often comes from those you trusted most. The sting of personal loss can cloud judgment and lead to reckless retaliation. Discipline your emotions. Expect nothing so that no loss surprises you. Value loyalty when it exists, but do not depend on it. Friendship and affection are luxuries. Preparedness is survival. History offers endless lessons. Julius Caesar was cut down by senators he once called friends. Corporate empires have crumbled because partners turned competitors. Revolutions have devoured their own architects. Each story carries the same message. Betrayal is not a tragic accident. It is a constant force in the struggle for power. Those who ignore it are destroyed by it. Those who accept it shape it to their advantage. This acceptance does not mean abandoning all trust. Strategic relationships are essential, but trust must always be conditional, reinforced by incentives and balanced by caution. Reward loyalty, but never without safeguards. Keep secrets compartmentalized. Share enough to inspire confidence, but never so much that a single betrayal can expose your entire plan. Let allies compete for your favor so that their rivalry keeps them honest. Above all, remember that betrayal often opens doors to greater strength. A traitor removed is a weakness eliminated. A betrayal endured is a lesson learned. Each act of treachery teaches you where your defenses are thin, where your assumptions are naive, and where your enemies hide. Treat every betrayal as a map of the battlefield. Study it, adapt, grow stronger. Machiavelli would remind you that the game of power rewards those who remain calm amid the chaos. When betrayal strikes, the crowd watches your reaction. Panic signals vulnerability. Indifference projects invincibility. The leader who absorbs a betrayal without visible shock sends a message far stronger than anger. I expected this. I am still in control. The game continues on my terms. In the end, betrayal is not a sign that the system has failed. It is proof that the system is alive. Power attracts ambition, and ambition breeds treachery. To rise is to invite challenge. To endure is to master it. Accept betrayal as part of the natural order, and it loses its power to wound you. Instead, it becomes what Machiavelli intended it to be: another move on the board, another opportunity to tighten a grip, another step toward unshakable dominance.
Power is never given. It is taken, defended, and reinforced every single day. Machiavelli teaches that authority is not a gift bestowed by fortune or fate, but a prize wrested from chaos by those bold enough to claim it. To seize power is to recognize opportunity where others see only uncertainty, and to act decisively before hesitation allows rivals to move first. To hold power is to maintain it through strategy, discipline, and the relentless understanding that every victory invites new challengers. The first principle of seizing power is timing. Opportunities rarely announce themselves. They appear suddenly, in moments of crisis or distraction, when the established order is weak. While others debate, the ambitious strike. Machiavelli admired leaders who acted before consensus formed, understanding that delay is the ally of the status quo. The world rewards those who move when others are frozen by doubt. Fortune favors the bold, not because fortune is kind, but because boldness creates its own momentum. To seize power, you must also embrace risk. No position of influence is achieved without stepping into uncertainty. Caution has its place, but excessive caution is paralysis. A calculated risk, backed by preparation, is the engine of conquest. Study your environment, identify leverage points, and strike when the cost of inaction outweighs the danger of action. Those who wait for perfect conditions surrender the initiative to those willing to act in the dark. Yet the seizure of power is only the beginning. History is littered with figures who rose spectacularly only to fall just as quickly because they failed to secure what they had taken. Holding power demands a different skill set than seizing it. The rush of conquest must give way to the discipline of maintenance. Your first task is consolidation. Eliminate threats, secure resources, and establish a foundation that does not depend on temporary alliances or fleeting enthusiasm. Consolidation begins with control of perception. After a victory, rivals will test your resolve, allies will question your strength, and onlookers will search for signs of weakness. Appear decisive even when the path ahead is uncertain. Make swift, visible moves to demonstrate that the new order is not temporary. Announce policies, reward supporters, and remove key opponents before they can organize resistance.
The speed of your actions creates a sense of inevitability that discourages rebellion. Next comes the construction of systems. Personal charisma may carry you to power, but only institutions keep you there. Build structures, teams, processes, networks that function even in your absence. Reward competence over loyalty alone, but never allow any subordinate to accumulate enough influence to challenge you. Divide responsibilities so that no one individual controls a critical lever of power. As Machiavelli observed, a wise leader keeps potential rivals dependent and slightly uncertain, ensuring their survival is tied to your continued dominance. Maintenance of power also requires adaptability. Environments change, alliances shift, and yesterday's strategy becomes today's vulnerability. The leader who clings to old methods invites defeat. Monitor the landscape constantly. When circumstances demand a new approach, pivot without hesitation. A sudden change in tactics can disorient opponents and remind allies of your unpredictability. Flexibility is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength. One of Machiavelli's most enduring lessons is the necessity of decisive force when threats arise. Mercy can be noble, but hesitation is fatal. If a rival endanger your position, neutralize them swiftly and thoroughly. Half measures invite retaliation. When action is required, act completely. Remove the danger so that it cannot return. But temper ruthlessness with calculation. Unnecessary cruelty breeds hatred, and hatred breeds coalitions. Strike only when the strike serves a purpose, and always frame your actions as the preservation of order rather than personal ambition. Economic and psychological leverage are equally vital. Wealth fuels armies, buys loyalty, and funds the projects that legitimize your rule. Influence over information shapes perception and controls narratives. Guard these resources carefully. Do not display all your strength at once, but reveal enough to discourage challenge. Let whispers of your reach circulate. Let rivals fear forces they cannot fully see. Another key to holding power is the management of rewards. Supporters must see tangible benefits in your success. Distribute resources strategically, enough to keep followers invested, but not so much that they grow complacent or independent. Rotate favors to prevent any faction from becoming indispensable. Keep ambition alive in your circle, but ensure that ambition depends on your approval. A hungry ally is loyal. A satisfied ally is dangerous. As you grow in power, you must also guard against the most insidious threat of all: complacency. Success breeds overconfidence, and overconfidence breeds vulnerability. The moment you believe your position is unassailable is the moment you begin to lose it. Cultivate a mindset of perpetual vigilance. Seek out flaws in your defenses. Encourage honest advisors to speak hard truths, and reward those who expose weaknesses before enemies exploit them. Remember that power is not a static possession, it is a dynamic relationship. Your authority exists only as long as others recognize it. Respect is the invisible currency that sustains your rule. Maintain it through strength, consistency, and the careful balance of fear and favor. Show too much kindness, and you invite encroachment. Show too much cruelty, and you invite revolt. Master the middle path, firm enough to command, restrained enough to endure. Finally, never forget that the ultimate purpose of power is not merely to survive, but to shape the world according to your will. Seizing and holding power gives you the platform to create, to build, to transform. But these ambitions are meaningless if you cannot first secure your position. Machiavelli's wisdom is clear. Fortune smiles on those who dare, but it remains only with those who are relentless. Take power boldly, guard it fiercely, adapt endlessly, and remember, the game never ends. The moment you stop playing is the moment someone else begins to play against you. In the end, to seize and hold power is to accept a lifetime of movement. It is the art of striking without warning, of fortifying without pause, of balancing fear and favor with a surgeon's precision. Those who master this art do not merely survive, they define the age in which they live. They are remembered not for the chances they were given, but for the opportunities they seized and the empires they refused to surrender.